Our bodies are making decisions all the time, most of which we don't even notice. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on these hidden networks, these super fast electrical signals, and these slower chemical messages that let us, interact with the world around us, from something as simple as a touch to a split-second life or death choice.
Okay, let's start with something we can all relate to. Picture this. You reach for something, and ouch, your hand hits something incredibly hot. And right in that instant, something amazing, almost magical happens.
Before you even have a chance to think hot, your hand is already yanking itself back. We're talking a fraction of a second. So what's the deal? How on earth is it possible for your body to act before your brain even gets the memo? Well, the answer is just a brilliant biological shortcut. It's an emergency system that's built for one thing and one thing only, keeping you safe when every single millisecond counts. Look, thinking things through is obviously one of our greatest strengths. But it's complicated. It involves all these dense networks of neurons firing away in your brain, weighing the options, making a call. And in an emergency, like touching a hot stove, that whole process is a luxury you just don't have. It's way too slow.
So, to get around that, the body came up with this incredible workaround. It's called the reflex arc. The best way to think about it? It's like an emergency override switch. It's a direct, pre-programmed path that connects the danger signal straight to the action, completely skipping the brain's usual chain of command.
Okay, let's actually trace this super fast journey. So first, receptors in your skin scream heat. Second, a sensory neuron zips that signal straight to your spinal cord. Now third, and this is the really genius part, your spinal cord acts like a local manager. It processes the threat right there on the spot. Fourth, it immediately sends a command back out through a motor neuron. And finally, boom, that neuron tells your muscle to contract, and your hand pulls away. All of this happens before your brain even has a clue what's going on.
And this right here, this is that final, critical handoff. This is the neuromuscular junction. It's the exact spot where that electrical pulse from the nerve triggers the release of chemicals. And it's those chemicals that tell the muscle fibers to physically change their shape, to shorten, and to pull your hand away from danger. It's literally where an electrical warning gets turned into a life-saving action.
All right, so that's reflexes. They handle the urgent, automatic stuff. But what about everything else? All the conscious choices we're making every single day? Yeah, this really breaks it down nicely. On one side, you've got the reflex action, totally involuntary, ridiculously fast, and handled by the spinal cord. Pulling your hand from a flame is the perfect example. Then on the other side, you have a voluntary action, like, say, whispering to a friend. That's deliberate, it's slower, and it needs the full processing power of your brain.
And that, of course, brings us to mission control, the headquarters for every voluntary action, the main coordinating center for our entire body, the brain.
Look at this thing. This incredible organ is mission control. It's constantly getting information from all over your body, mixing it with your memories and what you already know, and then making a decision. Every single deliberate thing you do, it starts right here.
So let's do a super quick tour of the brain's different departments. Right up front, you've got the forebrain. That's the big boss, the main thinking part, handling stuff like sight and smell. Then, in the back, the midbrain and hindbrain. They're running a lot of our automatic systems, kind of like the body's autopilot. A really key part back there is the medulla, which manages vitals like blood pressure. And then you have the cerebellum. Think of the cerebellum as the brain's master of precision. It's what fine-tunes our movements and keeps us balanced so we can, walk and not fall over.
Okay, so animals have this amazingly complex nervous system for control and coordination. But that raises a big question, right? What about life that has no brain at all? What about plants? And this, to me, is where the story gets really cool. Plants might look like they're just sitting there, but they're constantly responding to their environment. They just use completely different, but just as elegant systems to do it. Plants basically have two main ways of moving. First, you have these rapid responses that have nothing to do with growth, like reacting to a touch. This is all about changes in water pressure inside the cells. Then you have the slow and steady movements, which we call tropism. This is directional movement that's actually caused by growth, like a plant bending towards a window. And check this out. This is a perfect example of that first type, the rapid movement. It's the touch-me-not plant. When you touch its leaves, they fold up almost instantly. Now, it's not magic. What's happening is the plant is sending electrical chemical signals, a lot like our own nerves, to communicate that touch. That signal makes cells at the base of the leaves dump water really fast, which changes their shape and makes the leaves droop.
Okay, so we've seen these fast electrical signals in animals, and even a version of them in plants. But there's another system at play here, a more universal system that you find in both kingdoms of life: chemical communication.
So what we're really talking about here are two totally different strategies. The nervous system, think of it like a high-speed internet cable. It sends a message from point A to point B incredibly fast, but it can only talk to the cells it's physically connected to. The endocrine system, the hormone system, that's more like a broadcast radio signal. It sends out a chemical message that's slower, for sure, but it has the potential to reach every single cell in the body.
And you can see how this works in the real world. In animals, right, if you get into a scary situation, the hormone adrenaline floods your system. It gets your whole body ready for fight or flight. Heart beats faster, you breathe quicker, all that. Now in plants, a hormone called auxin, which is made at the very tip of the shoot, causes the plant to bend towards light. How? It makes the cells on the shady side grow longer. So there you have it, two totally different organisms using the exact same strategy.
And this quote from the source material just sums it up perfectly. It says, "This will be slower, of course, but it can potentially reach all cells of the body, regardless of nervous connections, and it can be done steadily and persistently." See? It's all about trading that raw speed for incredible reach and persistence. It's a way to coordinate these big, long-lasting changes across the entire body.
So when you step back and look at it, what you see are two brilliant solutions that complex life came up with. You have a super-fast electrical network for all the urgent, targeted stuff, and you have a widespread chemical broadcast system for the slower, more persistent changes. That's really the big takeaway here. It's this amazing evolutionary masterpiece that allows for both split-second survival and that slow, steady, coordinated growth.
It's just this elegant two-part system that works across the whole tree of life. Which kind of leaves you with one last big thought, doesn't it? If nature came up with these two incredibly powerful ways to communicate, what might be the next step? What new kinds of signals might life figure out in the future? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.